Hi everyone, how are you doing? Happy Friday. Welcome to Facts and Two Cents. As you know, we are a channel that supports the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Harry, Meghan, Archie, Baby Lily, Mama Doria, Poola Guy, the chickens, Mama Mia, all of us here at Sussex Squad. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, hope you all are having a fantastic time wherever you are in the world. Anyway, what is happening here? What is happening around the royal world, around our faves? So funny. I saw this picture today and I was like, I've never seen this picture before. One of our squaddies, I think I want to say it's Jodie Verrunner that posted it. I think it was her that posted it. Ooh, I should have paid attention. But I was like, I never saw this picture before and I love it. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. Meghan peeking out behind Harry there. I was like, oh, how cute is this? I just thought it was the cutest thing in the world, and I was just like, oh well, of course I have to use it, you know. And I feel like I'm discovering all these new things with Harry and Meghan, and I was like, oh, like in terms of pictures or videos and stuff like that. So it's always nice to run into new things. Um, yeah, what else is happening? And before we go, not go, but before we go forward, I should say, if you're new here, even if you're not, and you have not subscribed to our channel, go ahead and subscribe and click the notification bell so you know when we drop a video. Just do what the little scrolly thing that's going by there says. Like and share the video. Please help us. We are trying to build a bigger platform. So please help us. And so like and share the video. And if you're able to join the Two Cents Crew, join the where you support the channel on a monthly basis. And so thank you so much for all of you who already have done that, and to all of you who will, I thank you in advance. But anyways, what else is going on with our faves? Obviously, we know that not Harry and Nacho are in Singapore right now. They were in Japan and they left Japan yesterday and are now in Singapore getting ready for tomorrow's polo match. Now we don't know what they're doing today. Well, actually, it's at this moment, I think it's already tomorrow. Is it? I think it's tomorrow already in Japan, I think. Or at least early morning or something. I don't remember. I'm a little bit crazy with the times right now. Not Japan, but Singapore. But anyways, tomorrow for us, Harry and Naj are going to be playing a polo match for Cindy Bali. Actually, the a charity match tomorrow. All proceeds going to with Cindy Bali, obviously, which Harry is a patron and co-founder of, and Nacho is the ambassador, at least one of the ambassadors. Quite a few of Harry's friends are ambassadors for Cindy Bali. Nacho is just the most visible one and most vocal one, and just always there with Harry, always ready to play a polo match with Harry for Cindy Bali. They're not going to be playing on the same team this year. They're going to be playing on opposite team. They're both going to captain separate teams. So I am firmly team Harry. And of course, Church Nelly is firmly Team Nacho. We'll see who was the winner at the end. Of course, it'll be Harry, so there. Sorry, Church Nelly. It's going to be Harry. So there. But Singapore Polo Club, they are getting excited, or they have been excited the whole time. So these are some of the posts that they have posted about it. Singapore Polo Club extends a warm welcome to Sentibali founder Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, and Sentibali ambassador Nacho Figueras. It's an absolute pleasure to have them visit the club once again. Of course, we know that they were back. They were there. I think it was like 2017 or something like that. I don't remember exactly what year. Are you ready to witness their phenomenal performance tomorrow? We'll see you at the Sentibali ISPS Under Polo Cup 2023. And so, and of course, it's funny because tomorrow they're both not going to be wearing the light blue because Harry is going to be, captaining the dark blue team, and Nacho is like on the light blue shirt, that is. Their shirts, that is. So this is Harry's team on the left and Nacho's team on the right. And actually, let's see what their names are. Give me 1 second. Just get myself out of the way. There we go. get me out of the way there so we can get their names. So it's going to be Harry, Malcolm Borwick, Michael Carrazza, and Steve Cox. They're going to be there on Harry's team, and Nacho is going to have Ivan Rubinek, Jonathan something, and my little thingy there covers it, and Mohammed Julian. So that's Nacho's team over there and Harry's team on the other side. So they are going to be doing that. So this is what Singapore Polo Club, they tweeted this. This is, we are pleased to introduce the players for the Santibali ISBS Honda Polo Cup 2023. Have you purchased your ticket yet? So if you are in Singapore or you're going to Singapore, that's the, definitely go ahead and, email to purchase your tickets at reception@singaporepoloclub.org. Get your tickets to be a part of the polo match, or at least the polo celebration tomorrow. I always love this picture of Harry. It's such a cool picture of Harry and his horse. This little, it's so funny because the horse is so big and Harry just looks so little on the horse. And Harry is not a little guy. He's very tall. And the horse is so big and robust. And so Harry just looked like this little person on this horse. But he's not. And so they are like, we are honored to welcome back Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, and his team at the Singapore Polo Club for the annual Santibali ISBS Honda Polo Cup on 12th of August for polo match and dinner tickets. So, you get the polo match and you get dinner. Pricing availability, obviously, contact membership at Singapore Polo Club if you are going there, if you're there and ready to get your tickets and ready to get your dinner. Whether the players, Harry, Nacho, and the rest of them are going to be a part of the dinner, I don't know. But it's kind of cool. Now, we're not in Singapore. Or I have to go brush up on I think I have to, at some point today, brush up on my polo knowledge there. Let's go Google polo rules or... And so that way I could, learn again. Last year or whatever, when Harry was playing for Los Padres, I had to look it up in Google and, saw some matches so I understand the rules of the game. I forgot. So I got to go back. I kept meaning to do it and I haven't done it. And so, so just in case I'm able to see it, I know what they're doing. So there you go. And again, I am completely only into polo when Harry and Nacho are playing. Apart from that, no. No interest in polo whatsoever. When Nacho and Harry are playing, I'm all there. Oh my goodness, what else is happening in our Sussex world? I'm telling you, the impact of Harry and Meghan on the different organizations and the youth of the world is amazing. It is so great to see that they make such an incredible impact in this space, especially this is the tech space. And we saw them, a couple of weeks ago, where they had a call-in with a group of young people around the country. And really, I didn't even realize this girl is, she is in the UK. And so they definitely did include the UK in all this. Obviously, we know Prince Harry is from the UK. I just thought she was in the US, but she's not. She's in the UK. I think she goes to Oxford, I want to say, one of those colleges or something like that. But anyways, it was really cool. Again, just the way they're able to communicate with them. And then also they are also working with them as co-founders of this organization that really is there to support tech, really safe tech, really, that these young people are creating for children, especially coming up, so they understand and put these safeguards in place so that kids coming up don't have to experience cyberbullying and all of that mess that's happening. So that was like a couple of weeks ago. So the Naperville Sun, which is a newspaper I'd never heard of before, says Naperville entrepreneur to expand anti-bullying software to Caribbean with funds from Harry and Meghan's Archwell Foundation. Naperville's native Trisha Prabhu was awarded national funding from 14 organizations, including Prince Harry and his wife Meghan's Archwell Foundation, to tackle cyberbullying and educate youth on digital literacy. The Responsible Technology Youth Power Fund announced on August 2nd an inaugural cohort of 26 youth-led initiatives that will receive $2 million in grant, ranging from $25,000 to $200,000 based on the organization's needs. And this is just a little clipping from the article. Prabhu's nonprofit, Rethink Citizens, was awarded $50,000, which will go towards bringing technology and educational materials to youths in the Caribbean this fall, she said. Her inventive software, Rethink, is an award-winning technology that detects and stops cyberbullying before it happens. And so this is just so great. I mean, these young kids, young people, I should say, are so amazing, so talented, so there and so present with what is going on in the world. And they're just so proactive. They're just taking action. You know, she talked about in the article what motivated her was she was watching television. I think she had just come home from school or something, so watching television. And this young girl, I think it was like 12 years old, unalived herself. She was in Florida and unalived herself. And it really impacted Prabhu. And this is what motivated her to start developing this technology that will detect and stop cyberbullying before it happens. And so her software, like if you're tweeting something, the software her software will detect in your writing if something is derogatory, if it's racist, if it's whatever the inappropriate language is. Her software will detect it, and so that will give you a moment to think, do I really want to send this to somebody? Is this really valuable? Is this really helpful? Will it damage someone? And so it's, and I don't know the ins and outs of, if after it brings all these things up, if it blocks your, email or tweet or whatever way that, the inappropriate content will come out. So, but she's taking it to the Caribbean, and I don't know which island or country she's taking it to, but it's just really exciting to know that that's what she's doing. And it's great to know that Harry and Meghan are part of this. And again, some countries in the Caribbean, or Commonwealth. So there's Harry and Meghan taking care of the Commonwealth, even though they're not president and vice president of the Queen's Commonwealth Trust anymore. And so kudos to Archwell and also to Prabhu and Rethink Citizens and the wonderful work they're doing. Apparently her initiative is award winning. I think she did stuff with the Obamas and stuff like that. So and other organizations, I think she received awards from. So she is doing fantastic. And it's really great. I mean, these are the leaders of the world and, or the future. These are going to be our future leaders. And it's just great to see their emotional intelligence, the passion that they have to change things and not, let it stay at, just don't just sit there and here it is at the status quo, when nobody's doing anything. I mean, they are proactive. These 26 organizations that, who have received funding from this initiative, they are all doing this, and they are all really going out there to make sure that the world that, when they are adults and young kids coming up, like Harry and Meghan's kids, Archie and Lily, they don't have to deal with this mess. But now we would have figured out the technology. So by the time they are ready to go online, it is a safer space for them to come in. So I just think it's fantastic. So kudos to her, and really excited that she's taking it to the Caribbean. So from positive news to jumping over the Shutter Island for a minute. And, it's I'm telling you, the royal family and their crazy royal reporters are like, Lord, I don't know what y'all did to be able to get a press pass and to be, I mean, what are the criteria for royal reporting? I mean, it's just, anyways. So apparently today, obviously, because, Invictus is coming out. So it's coming up, and Harry has already started doing some PR work for it, getting the press, at least his press releases out there and getting the teams motivated. So more and more, obviously, we know this is coming up in less than a month, Invictus Games. So it's on now with all out, getting as much publicity and getting as much people excited about coming to the games as possible. And so with the British press being, they obviously are all up in Harry and Meghan's business, no matter if you invited them or not. So they're going to be all over this. So of course, what does the royal household do? Let's just, release at this moment all the new military honors, and that's going to be going to, quote unquote, working members of the royal family, none of whom has seen combat anywhere. I saw an article earlier that said, William and Kate are going back to their flying roots. And I was like, where did Kate ever fly to other than getting a, private jet to go somewhere? Well, how did she get back to their flying roots? Like, when did she fly for the military? I mean, the utter clownery of this whole thing is just not even funny. So because, Harry is, they stepped back, and of course, Andrew was stripped of his title. The Queen passed away and Philip passed away. So there's this void with all these patronages, which I honestly don't know. It's kind of like we had an elderly queen with 600 pictures. Like, the woman could barely get out the house or get out of bed, and she had all these patronages. And you're like, it is just there to make them look like they're doing something, which is all this nonsense is about anyways. And so obviously today they're giving out all these military patronages to the quote unquote working members of the royal family, two of whom are such elderly people that they're going to have to revisit this as probably a year, because if you remember the photo at the coronation that nobody asked for, their publicity photo at the end, someone literally had to hold up one of the elderly lady. I mean, I think what is it? The Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, Sophie Wessex. I mean, she'll always be Sophie Wessex Ford Fiesta to me. They literally had to prop this lady up. She could barely stand up. So anyway, so they're giving out all of these patronages to Kate and William and Camilla, who's like the laziest queen ever. She only got one. Some like I don't know, the ministers or whomever that does, the church things there. And it's just like, it's really funny. But part of this whole thing is, for example, Roya Nika over here. Thank you, Josephine. One of she's not a squatty, but she tweets a lot about the royal family, and she seems favor Harry and Meghan over the others. But she alerted us to this because I was not. It's so funny. Like, I forgot about Roya. I forgot Roya Nika existed. I hadn't seen it. I think probably because I blocked her. Or muted her. Like, I hadn't seen a tweet from this woman in so long. It was just like, oh, Roya Nika. And so Roya Nika tweeted about this, and because today of all days, the royal family is releasing again who's getting all of these patronages. Again, it's from the Queen, from Prince Philip, from Andrew, and supposedly from Harry. And so Roya Nika tweeted this: a military royal reshuffle as King Charles reassigned a host of honorary roles in the armed forces, with roles once held by Prince Harry and Prince Andrew going to the Prince and Princess of Wales and the Duchess of Edinburgh. And it's just like, oh, well, then you expect Harry's roles to, be going to William, because that's what William has wanted all along. And it's so... It's kind of like, because everything Harry has, William wants. And so it's funny. So that according to Roya Nika's tweet, it's like, all of Harry's royal patronages, which are, as you can see at the bottom, there were three: Captain General of the Royal Marines, Honorary Commandant of the RAF Honington, and Commodore Chief of Small Boats, small ships and diving. So those were his patronages. So you expected to find his patronages in here somewhere, that most likely William would be like, I am taking it, just to have a one-up on that wretched Harry. You can imagine that. Charles's son is like that. Everything Diana's son has, Charles's son wants. So even though he has done nothing to deserve what Diana's son has, so it's very funny. So you're expecting to see it, then you look at the list and it's just like, wait a minute. None of Harry's patronages are on this list. What is Roy and Ika talking about? And what she's talking about is, we need to get Harry's name on here somehow, and it needs to look like Harry is being punished, that that everything is being stripped of him, because he is that dastardly son, and how dare he do what he did to William, and now William is going to control him, that wretched Harry. That's the thing over there. It's so funny. And so it's funny because, again, Josephine alerted us to this, and again, I wasn't paying attention. And one of the things she alerted to is the fact that this woman, she prides herself as like a royal historian, Gertz Royal. So that's the first time I was just like, she posted a screenshot from Gertz Royal saying, wait a minute, none of these patronages were held by Harry. Because that was the narrative that was supposed to happen, that William took it away from Harry and is punishing Harry, for, leaving the UK to protect his wife who they were abusing, And so, you look over this and just as Gertz Royal said, it's like there's none of the things that Harry had, which are like only 3, are on that list. So there was nothing to take away. But how this whole thing happened, I think this is what it is, reading comprehension for royal reporters is kind of non-existent, or they deliberately misinform, which, 2 things can be true at the same time. But this is, I think, what happened. Prince of Wales gets a promotion. William given command of Harry's old army unit, while Kate handed Andrew's titles. And so I think this is probably what she saw, or I don't know, something like this, even if it's not from LBC, and just assumed that Harry's patronages were the one given to William. But good thing there are, so-called historian and squaddies there to point out the fact that this is what it says. Prince William was given command of Prince Harry's old army unit as part of a major shakeup of the royal family's military appointments by King Charles. William has been appointed Colonel-in-Chief of the Army Air Corps, a unit in which the Duke of Sussex served during his time as an Apache helicopter pilot in Afghanistan. So William is going to be given the head of that, he's going to be given the Colonel-in-Chief of the unit that Harry served in. Harry never had this title. He never, he was never given this patronage as, over or of this this branch of the military. He was in Vietnam. That was his unit. And so that's what William is now Colonel-in-Chief of. And so it's very funny when I first read the headline and how you look when you see it. It's kind of like William, the future king, is given Harry's old army unit. And it's like, it literally said, William, and it says, William gets a promotion. And what does he get? Harry's old unit. Harry is not there anymore. Harry's moved way past this unit and he's moved on. But William, the future king that you're supposed to be uplifting, and he is the high and mighty king, future king that is more popular than Joe Biden and everybody else to bring the U.S. together, is William because he's so popular. Yeah, him. His promotion is Harry's old unit. And I'm like, just so you all know, your headline isn't reading the way you think it's reading. I'm sure this was supposed to be a prop for William, but it just looks like he gets Harry's, old clothes or something. because it's Harry's old unit. Harry's been there, he's done that, and he's moved on. And William, he had to be promoted to get something that Harry is basically cast off. How many, 2013 or whenever Harry left the military. This is something Harry left at the time. And William he needed a promotion to get to that position. It's just like, so I'm like, yeah, I better check your headline. It's not doing William any favors, which, I'm happy with. There you go. I'm petty like that. And this popped up today, and I was like, oh no. What did Kate Middleton do this time to upset Charles and Camilla? Because whenever stuff and drama is going on in the family, and the family being embarrassed by their money problems, is because Kate did something to Camilla and Charles. Because they don't like to be upstaged anyway or whatever. So I was like, oh no. The girl, what you do again? And could it be that because their word came out that they're going to be doing something or the other for the Queen's birthday after Charles said that he wasn't doing anything and he's going to mark it privately, all of a sudden we hear that, oh no, William and Kate are going to be marking it with something or the other. I don't know what they're going to be doing. Could that be the reason why all of a sudden, out of the blue again, we're hearing about Kate's family's money problems? Again, because when Kate upstaged Camilla and Charles at the flower show, they let her have it, and nobody came to her rescue, and they humiliated her family. So, could it be? Anyways, so Evening Standard had today, as party pieces are sold, leaving small vendors out of pocket, James Middleton appears to be having business woes of his own again for like the 50 millionth time. Luciana Bellini has the latest from the royal in-laws. You would think that marrying into the royal family and being in the in-laws to the future king might shield you from money problems and business dramas, but if the latest exploits of the Middleton are anything to go by, that could be further from the truth. That couldn't be further from the truth. Earlier this summer, Carol and Michael Middleton were forced to sell off their party supply firm, Party Pieces, after it racked up debts of £2.6 million, leaving dozens of small businesses out of pocket. Meanwhile, the baby of the clan, serial entrepreneur James Middleton, is facing fresh business woes after it was reported the assets on his latest venue, Ella & Company, had plummeted. Last year, fresh from the collapse of his novelty marshmallow firm, Bumped, James launched a dog food. Like, how do you go from marshmallow company to a dog food company in like a minute? But leave it to James Middleton to show us how. Last year, fresh from the collapse of his novelty marshmallow firm, Booth, James launched a dog food company dedicated to happiness and well-being of dogs. And, apparently this dog is his favorite dog, and I guess had her for a while, and she recently passed. And he credits Ella with really helping him during his darkest times when he was really low with depression, that Ella helped him to get out of it. So now Ella, sadly, it's a dog. I can understand that. So sadly, Ella died at the beginning of this year. And now it seems that her namesake company might be ailing too, as it's recently been reported that Ella and Company's assets are down to £92,110 compared to the £334,591,000 the previous year. So they are losing money. The funny part of this is James Middleton married a financial analyst. Yep, that's his wife. She's a financial analyst. I was like, couldn't she help him with his finances with our company? But anyways, I guess not. And so he just had business after business after business just fail and fail and fail. And amazingly enough, people still are backing him. People still are invested in him. And whatever it is else he wants to do, Um, but it's just very funny that once again their business woes are out there, and he has had again several businesses which have all gone under, and the his parents, okay, Michael and Carol, we are, their business went under, owing all of these uh, businesses that they borrowed supplies from and all of that stuff. So just leaving them in. I mean, they're just like they left, and these people never got paid, even though Carol decided, she had promised that they were going to be paid. The terms of their whatever, their bankruptcy, whatever, it's like the people who they owe money to are never going to get paid, and then they are taking out a loan that now during the pandemic that the taxpayers will have to bail out this bank for their loan. And so it's just like a whole big mess that it seems to come out when somebody, Kate, has in some way upstaged Charles and Camilla. Again, you should have read Spare because Harry blatantly lays it out that Camilla and Charles do not like being upstaged in any way. So I'm just noticing that whenever Kate does something, they embarrass her family and don't come to the rescue at all. So very, very interested. And so even with James, he's like, his company is just going down. He's like, well, don't worry. If this one, if this one falters, if this, goes out of business, I'm just going to open another one. Because you have stupid people, including his sister's brother, who throws money at him because why? He's the brother of a royal. And for some reason they think this, this guy is good. When you have money, I guess you can waste it. So there you go. That's what that is. But again, I wonder what Kate did. I mean, she may have done nothing, and this may be totally unrelated, but inquiring minds want to know. What did it to once again have her family's, financial mess out there in the public? So anyway, staying in Shutter Island, yesterday we were just not feeling Dan Wootton, and we were just like, no, we don't want to talk about Dan Wootton yesterday, or Dan Woo Woo, or Wooty. I have all these names for Dan Wootton. But anyway, so a couple of days ago, this dropped, and then they just dropped another article yesterday. And so a couple of days ago, this dropped about Dan Wootton. Before, it was just these people that are, just regular folks that he was targeting, people, his co-workers that he was targeting. So they didn't have any kind of like a celebrity profile or anything like that, that people who pay attention to the entertainment industry, which Dan was a entertainment reporter. And so, the byline articles were just really focused on regular people that Dan targeted. I mean, yes, there were some adult entertainers or actors and stuff like that, or models that spoke to byline, but this is the first time they're actually talking to celebrities that have encountered Dan Wootton, who's put them in all various of situations where it left them really, really not with a good feeling about what was done to them. And they're really, anyway, I'm going to go in and read some of what it is, just in case you haven't read. I know Byron usually drops, and he usually posts reading of the whole article. And so I'm just going to read a couple of parts of it. Among those Wootton targeted, over an 8-year period in 2011 and 2019, during which he was working for The Sun, ITV, and Daily Mail, were The Only Way is Essex star Kurt Narcos, Big Brother contestant JJ Bird, and an X Factor singer who was just out of his teens. Each had first encountered Wootton. Today a star presenter on GB News, as a result of their involvement in the television industry, in which it was highly paid job to report, and through which he enjoyed a powerful media influence. Wootton was in his first day as editor-at-large at the Daily Mail in December 2011, when he approached Big Brother Series 11 contestant JJ Bird, then 25, who is today a boxing trainer, having also been a pro fighter. Mr. Bird, who refused Wootton's offer, is among the first people of public in among the first people among the first group of people, I should say, in the public eye to discuss their interaction with Wootton. He told Byline Times, Dan told me he was an amateur photographer and was working with underwear brands. He invited me to test shoot at his flat with a fee attached. At the time, I was trying to fund my boxing career and develop my career in entertainment. Dan was a big name in the world of showbiz journalism. He had the power to do that. Plus anything where I was going to receive payment would obviously have been very useful. And this was a pattern with a lot of the kids, or young men, I should say, where he would meet them and then he would invite them to do these photo shoots, and then it turns out that he want them to do doing skimpy things and then nude and all of these things. And some people were very creeped out by it and all of that stuff. And, even he did it to a monsieur who, was professional and really, he invited, because the monsieur had said, he was talking about how difficult it is with the rent and all of that. So obviously, after the massage, then Wootton decided to offer him some modeling jobs, which the monsieur was like, no, this is a professional thing. Nope, don't want to have anything to do with it. And he's like, he felt targeted. He felt like, that he was doing, being proud of his profession and doing what he was doing. And then that happened. So they all had varying experiences with that, all negative. And, one of the things that was very interesting from this article is when the first articles about what Dan Wootton has been doing, whether it's through Martin Branding or through himself, is when this whole thing came out, and we remember what his reaction was when he went on GB News and claiming there's not these nefarious people, these dark people, I guess, from the dark web who are after him to try to destroy his life and his career and all of those things. One of the things that came out is GB News had pointed to one of Dan's former contacts or former people in his former life, who was just a little bit flabbergasted that Wootton would reach out to him because of his similar experience with Dan Wootton about the same thing he's trying to, like, I'm going to sue Byline Times and I need to raise funds. And he's like, so he started approaching a bunch of people for money. One of the people he approached, and Byline Times spoke about this very thing right when it was happening. It says, following the publication of the first part of the newspaper's special investigation, Wootton reached out to Mr. Narcos last month to ask him to contribute to a crowdfund, which was still stalled at $38,000 on the way to £150,000 total, to apparent finance legal actions against Byline Times after it unmasked Wootton as Martin Branding and Maria Joseph. And so Mr. Norcross is like, when he received the, I guess, request from Dan Wootton, Mr. Norcross says this about that. He says, can you imagine the audacity of asking someone you have targeted in this way to help you fund your legal fee? Mr. Norcross says, it was so desperate. I would encourage anyone who had an inappropriate interaction with Dan Wootton to come forward and share their stories so we can get to know the true scale of these activities. And it says, also says, Byline Time has uncovered other non-celebrity incidents in which Wootton relied upon financial power afforded by his profession to enable extremely inappropriate behavior. And so these Byline Time, along with that, and it's quite a few people that they interviewed and got information from this article, each of them with their own experience. These are some of communications that Dan Wootton had with some of his victims. And one of them, this is one of inviting one of his victims to a test shoot. Again, he told some of them that he was an amateur photographer. And so it says it's just a test shoot at this point, so low key, so not for publication. Will pay, obviously. Could you do next week or next weekend? And so this is him setting up one of his quote unquote photo shoot. And here he is with someone else. He says, hey man, thank you so much for that, which is this was a massage person, I think, that he did this to. He says, thank you so much for that. No, you said you just then re double rent, etc. Didn't want to ask while still there in case you're not interested, but could I potentially get you some type of can I potentially get you for some type of extra now? I have 1,000 budget, so very good money. Let me know before you go too far. And so the guy responded, hi, Dan. Unfortunately, this is not the way I operate as a therapist. Strictly professional massage under, whatever guidelines, and personal preference. Thank you. And, Dan responded, well, of course. But what about modeling outside of massage? And so he eventually turned Dan down, but he, of course he felt violated because he was there doing his job, and now he's getting propositioned by Dan Wootton. At the bottom is one of Dan Wootton's communication with, I think this one is the one with Mr. Norcross. And it was just wild. I mean, this one is a little suspect to me only because the name of Dan Wootton, so his name is spelled incorrectly there. But it could be that, that's how it was entered by Mr. Norcross or whoever it is that got this one. But it's like, hey, man, he, I guess, always referred to people as hey, man, or hey, dude. Hey, man, hey, mate, everything okay? Yeah, great. Yourself? It's all good, mate. Can I help you with anything? Okay, never mind, LOL. And it goes on to say, sorry, man, I was just tied up, nothing literally. I wanted to speak to you about modeling thing or hang on one second. I'm just going to move my little banner so that I can read this better. Make sure that our banner, make sure it's there. There we go. We can read this a little better with the banner out of the way. It says, yeah, I wanted to speak to you about the modeling thing we never sorted out. And so he is constantly recruiting people for, modeling, and obviously ends up where he usually, people like he presents it like as a modeling job, and then he invites the people over to his apartment, and then when they get there, one of the things it says, one of the guys says, you get there and there's nothing set up, there's no modeling, it's just a simple apartment, you change in his bathroom, and he has all these different clothes and all of that stuff, and some from regular clothes to some skimpy clothes to then go to where he's asking to model in the nude, which is, I guess, the target. And so and this is just like a pattern of all, I mean, it's just like over and over, and he's doing it so blatantly, so that I just have to believe that he was so confident that he wouldn't get caught or the people wouldn't say anything, that it was just like, oh, it's just something I do, and it was really wild, because you would think with his position, as an entertainment reporter, you would think that he would be a little more cautious. But either that, he was just so sure that nobody would say anything, or he was so protected by his job or the people who were there, or protected as in, either working with others who were, in very high positions, and he knows that he's protected. And it's weird, because it's like, what is he doing with all of these modeling? I mean, is it just for his entertainment or enjoyment, quote unquote? Or is he selling it? Or what is it for? I mean, or is it just blackmail? And it's very interesting with all of these things, because in 2017, Dan Wootton wrote an article about this very same thing. And it's almost like he wrote what he did, or he wrote the article and then got into it. I mean, like, it was just really weird that he wrote an article about this. And the article is so skeevy that I don't even want to bring it here, because I'm like, I don't want to, get banned or something. And it's just like, are you serious? He literally wrote about this thing, an article in the Sun in 2017. And it's I swear to you, after you read this thing, you're like, can I just go scrub myself somewhere? It's really rank. Anyway, so and again, the other one, Dan Wootton, is the same thing. Hey dude, the nude shots is usually just a couple at the end. Don't necessarily need your face, but it's just one area that they do a lot of work in. It's really chill tomorrow. Though, because not at a studio or anything, literally just a test shoot. They sent some sportswear and swimwear and loads of underwear, but would be good if you could bring some of your underwear. And it's like, ew. You know what I mean? It just goes on and on and on. And so this whole thing, I'm like, it's, for me, when I think about all of this, you think about this whole thing. I said it before, it's hard for me to believe that it was just him, that he was the only one in the British press doing this. I more believe that there were a group of people who were part of the British press were all engaged in this behavior. And that's why he felt so secure that he could just so blatantly, others, he used obviously Martin branding. So I guess those are the parts where he didn't feel too safe to do, to be just himself. But here he is just as himself. He's not hiding behind Martin branding at all. And it's just, some people he even gave his private email to. I think Mr. Norcross was one of the ones that he gave his private email to. And according to Byline Times, he still used the same email. And obviously they were talking about the passwords, how all those passwords match. Again, it's like Dan Wootton hasn't denied any of this stuff. He just said whatever he did wasn't criminal. And again, these people were, they were adults. And so, but it's the same pattern of using his power and the money from his position as an entertainment reporter to do this sort of thing. And so it just is really, obviously the people who encountered him in those all left with this really sick feeling and really like, ew, And so again, whether he was doing it for others, whether others who were higher than him, he mentioned a few times that, the people that he's working for wants this. And so if I were to believe anything, I think I would believe that there was something or someone's out there that were, even higher than him, in the positions higher than him, that were a part of this whole thing, and who may have, he may be working for to get all this stuff to them. I don't know. I don't have any of that information, but it's just very, very interesting to me that, and that he was just so blatant about this and didn't care that somebody would say something, and his bosses may find out and find it completely inappropriate and fire him. That he was so secure in all of this stuff that he didn't care, it seems. And so it's really wild for me. And that's why I believe that there were others involved, especially the fact that we see with all of these things coming out and none of the press has said a word. The only time they would say something is if the Daily Mail said something, then they will, the rest of the press will, well, this is what the Daily Mail said, that he's not working with them anymore, or whatever. Or Dan Wootton denied it, so they covered that. And the rest of the time, they've been silent. And for me, that's why I believe there were more people, especially those even in higher positions than Dan Wootton. They are protecting him for a reason. And I believe that, not only, because they're afraid like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get sued or whatever, but because others of them, again, I have no evidence, but I believe others of them are involved in this and were involved in this. And so Very interesting. And of course, this is the kind of thing that other tabloids like, the Mirror and the Express and all the Daily, I think it was the Record or whatever it's called in the UK. These are the kind of tabloidy things stories that they would jump on and they would feast on for weeks at a time. And every one of them has been mute. Not one of them have reported on this. I mean, the Daily Mail even, the Guardian even put out a story last week about the same thing, or earlier this week, about, another one of the people who came forward, this model who came forward and said pretty much the same thing. And all of the other press have ignored it. It is unreal to see what, it's like protection racket played out in real time, or at least being exposed in real time. Because it's like if Murdoch, if Murdoch don't want, or the Daily Mail, Lord Rothermere, doesn't want you to say something, the rest of the media doesn't. And that includes even the BBC, ITV, all of them. If it's something that would really make Murdoch unhappy, they will not report it. And we're seeing it played out. It is just unreal to me. And, one of our squaddies posted this from, I think is, I forgot, it's Gunfighter or something like that. It's a branch, I think, a newsletter from the Daily Beast, I want to say. And this is a newsletter that comes out, I guess. And so it says, "We hear whispers, disgraced GB News presenter and former top Murdoch editor Dan Wootton is continuing to be paid his $250,000 freelance contract by the Daily Mail, despite the publisher announcing that they paused his column in the wake of wild allegations about his twisted double life." And so that's what they're saying, that he is being paid on the down low. And I wouldn't be shocked at that at all. Because just because, the Daily Mail are like, oh, yeah, he's a freelancer. We're not putting out his articles until the investigation is done. But according to this, he's still getting paid from the Daily Mail. And that doesn't surprise me at all. That does not surprise me at all. And I honestly believe that they are just biding time. I don't honestly believe there's really any investigation going on either there or at the Sun. I don't believe it. And if there's anything with those lawyers, whatever, it's just so we can get the information, so we can offer you a 6-figure sum, and then make you sign an NDA so nobody ever hear about this. And you never be able to tell your story. That's what I think is going on. Again, I have no evidence, but that's what I believe is happening. I don't believe for a moment that the Daily Mail or the Sun are doing an investigation. I don't believe it at all, in any sense of the word. And do I believe that they are paid? Yeah, I totally believe that. I totally believe the Daily Mail is still doing it. Again, allegedly, I don't have it. I don't have proof of this, but this is what I believe. And again, protecting Dan Wootton again with all the stuff that Dan Wootton has done. Why protect it? Unless protecting him means protecting you. Peter Jukes, who is owns and co-owns, I should say, Byline Times, he is on Twitter, and so he wrote this: "If the Wootton scandal teaches us one thing, it should be this: once you've got the Mail and Murdoch on side, which means you're compromised, the BBC will be silent, and you have the most of the media stitched up, i.e. muted. Very, very unhealthy for our democracy." Exactly. As long as you are on side of Rupert Murdoch, as long as he's protecting you, the BBC would be silent. I mean, how else? We've talked about this forever. How else do you explain the BBC going after its own announcer, Hugh Edwards, and, writing articles, and then I suspended him for things that the Sun posted about, whether you believe his alleged affair or, at least sending illicit pictures to a teenager. How do you explain them going after him for that, his own employer, but yet here is Dan Wootton, who I believe the Sun had the information before they started. They had the information about Dan Wootton before they started going after Hugh Edwards and used Hugh Edwards as a way to cover up for Dan Wootton. You know, it's just like it boggles my mind that the Sun, if the Sun did that, why BBC has just taken it lying down. The Sun went after their people. Yeah, they refused to go after Dan Wootton. They refused to be honest about the investigation into Dan Wootton. They refused to do it. They've literally made themselves mute on the subject. But yet, they were going after their own people because the Sun went after them. It is crazy. Someone on Twitter, again, I don't know who it is. I just ran into this. And so these apparently, and I didn't get a chance to go through all of these people's backgrounds, but this is what they posted. Again, these are the people, the men, it's so funny, all white men who run BBC News. And you would think BBC News is their sort of middle of the road, a very impartial news outlet that don't go to the right or left. They're middle of the road and they just say the news. And they report without fear of, without fear or favor. And then, so this person posted about the men who run the BBC News. Richard Sharp, the BBC chairman, is a former Goldman Sachs banker where he worked with Rishi Sunak. Of course, the prime minister right now, the Tory guy. Under investigation for being appointed the role by Boris Johnson after he was appointed the role by Boris Johnson after securing Johnson a £800,000 loan. I know. A major Tory party donor. He's donated £400,000. Board member of the right-wing think tank, the Center for Policy Studies, and donor to controversial foundation. This is the chairman of the board at the BBC, appointed by right-wing Boris Johnson after he loaned Boris Johnson money. And he's also a major donor to the Tory party. This is the head of BBC that's supposed to be right in the middle. They're the director general. Cambridge educational former PepsiCo executive Tim Davey. Davey stood as a counselor for the Conservative Party in Hammersmith. He was a former chairman of Hammersmith and Fulham Conservatives. As director general, he has warned BBC staff to avoid virtue signaling. This is a complete right-wing guy who is supposedly in the center BBC. Also at BBC is Robbie Gibb, a member of England's former Tory aide and head of communications for right-wing Theresa May. Brother of Tony MP Nick Gibb. He's the brother of Tory MP Nick Gibb, an ardent Brexiter who said the BBC is culturally captured by the woke. Accused by Emily Matlis after she left Newsnight of being a Tory agent who had already influenced the editorial process. You think? And then there's John McAndrew, director of news, former editorial director and director of news programs at the right-wing media outlet. Guess what? GB News. I'm like, can this be real? The channel hosts 5 shows presented by Tory MPs and was found guilty by Ofcom of materially misleading the audience during McAndrew's tenure. And he is the director of news at the BBC. Now, I have to go back in, and again, I did get a chance to go in and do my own investigation about these people. But you read all this stuff and you're like, what on earth? These are the people that lead BBC News, this supposedly centered news outlet. These are the people, and you're like, well, okay, no wonder they're silent. No wonder. And it's just like, oh my gosh. They're all Tories. They're all right wing. It's unbelievable. So when you have a paper like Byline Times who is center and they report without fear or favor against anyone who is a right-wing nutcase like Dan Wootton, who sits there, and the thing about Dan Wootton, again, is, as his former partner said, he was basically left of center when he knew him. And basically, this right-wing thing is most likely a grift, but Dan Wootton is out there championing the right wing. These people are literally benefiting from Dan Wootton's madness, just in terms of his, sitting there championing the right wing and the Brexiters and all of that stuff. They are benefiting from that. Plus, if they said anything, Rupert Murdoch might come after them. These men have been silent. Their own people, their own person was trashed. And here now is Dan Wootton, who, from looking at the different things that people said about what he did, it's literally criminal. And they're not doing anything. They have clammed up. And on another part is, what does Dan Wootton have on these people? What does he have on these men at the BBC? Could that be why they've been silent? It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And then Byline Times, yesterday it was like reminding us that 9 and 10, which I didn't even realize 9 and 10 were coming out. But number 9 dropped yesterday, and we'll look at that in a second. This is 9 and 10 of our media investigation, Media 2 investigation coming up this week. And, definitely subscribe. I have to go read my, my subscription stuff in a bit. But Peter Jukes also tweeted, it says, I can't say much because proceedings are active, but want to thank the Met Police UK for their swiftness in dealing with the violent threats towards the Byline Times team. And remember, when it first dropped, someone, was threatening them, they tried to hack them, and also they tried to, somebody put like blood on one of the reporters' cars and all kind of mess, along with hateful phone calls and all of that stuff. And so the police, he said the police acted with swiftness, or whatever that means, but they definitely haven't been acting with swiftness at the allegations against Dan Wootton. They have not said a word about there being a formal investigation going on. So who knows where that is. And so as they mentioned there, it's Dan, they dropped part 9, and I was going to read a little bit of part 9 because it's just like, this is madness. This is absolute madness. So let me just pull it up here for a second, because it's just too much. And I'm like, but they went away a little bit from Dan Wootton, but they stayed at GB News. And this is why I titled it, this is why GB News would not fire Dan Wootton. Why? Because GB News top boss faced sexual harassment allegations as channel paid to shut down institutional racism claims. And it's just like, okay, that makes sense. And that, is very clear why, Dan Wootton and why they are, the right, and Dan Wootton's ride or die, because, they can't necessarily now go after Dan Wootton when, their boss, their top boss, the guy who owns their channel, has his own sexual harassment allegations against him. So, of course, Dan Wootton is going to be their ride or die. And again, I believe this is the same thing in a lot of these other outlets who are silent. But this is what their article says. It says, GB News settled an employment claim for a 5-figure sum in which sexual harassment was alleged against the chief executive Angelos Frangopoulos and shut down serious racism and bullying allegations raised by two other journalists, with further payouts and gagging agreements, Byline Time can reveal. It goes on to say, the claim, I'm just going to skip a little bit. It says the claim naming Mr. Frangopoulos, a married father of 5, made allegations that he propositioned and declared feelings for a female member of staff in a late night phone call after work drinks in 2021. Having been rebuffed, Mr. Frangopoulos then allegedly undermined and marginalized the woman in her role before she left and got employment lawyers to negotiate settlement with the channel. A source with knowledge of the case said she felt ostracized, bullied, and became psychologically distressed, essentially for turning down someone's advances. Byline Times understand that GB News was never received a formal internal complaint against Mr. Frangopoulos. However, GB News did defend employment tribunal claims, and after a preliminary hearing, it was withdrawn and a financial settlement reached. It says the second payout, apart from Mr. Frangopoulos' sexual issues there, unwanted sexual attention, abuse. Another part of this, it says the second payout in 2022 centered on allegations of racial discrimination and breaches of Equality Act, according to an insider with knowledge of the case. It says the journalist who complained had been exposed to several thousand racist emails from some of the right-wing channels' viewership, including about 800 featuring shocking racial content from a single individual against whom GB News took no action. The woman involved got next to no support from the company. One insider told Byline Times that the content of the email was really shocking. One referred to George Floyd as another dead, N-word. Another one said, let's see. Oh, yeah, it goes on to say there was supposed to be a human resource review internally in order to ensure compliance with the Equality Act, which seeks to protect against those sort of harassment, but nothing really happened. Nothing really changed. An auto reply to viewer emails even thanked the sender, the abusive sender. They thanked the sender for contributing. But it never updated it to tell them that racist or prejudicial material would not be tolerated or will be reported to the police. And of course, Byline Time did their check, and as of yesterday, there was still no update on that, on their communication, their outward communication, at least letting people know they won't tolerate racist behavior. And not only that, not only did they not support this woman, they just literally told her, instead of saying no, you need to keep those, so in case you want to file a police report, whatever, they basically told her to delete the emails. And so this is how they, and they would do stuff like that. There are other situations, racial situations, where they, someone within the organization said really nasty, racist, and sexual things to them, and the person just left. There are other situations where one is told that they have to do sexual things in order to get a promotion. There's a bunch of, they also said there's such a toxic work environment that they separate the races. So, the like white and black, they don't work together, even though some may appear on screen together. They don't, in the workplace, they don't work in the same place. So I don't know what that means if, one gets better position, better place in the office than the other, whatever, but they don't work together apparently. And also it's very misogynistic in that, women, there are very few women on this platform. And if the women are there, very few of them have their own show. They're basically used as props for the men. And so it's very, very interesting. just the reading through it and realize the toxic environment that is there at GB News. And one of the things that is very clear with GB News is that a lot of their staff, a lot of their reporters, it's kind of like a revolving door there, where a lot of people just leave, and a lot of people have left. And so because of, whether it's not having the experience, then you have young people who really don't know how to do a show, and it's just a whole bunch of mess at GB News. And one of the things, when stuff comes up, for example, whether it's sexual harassment or racism, whatever, what they do is the same thing as what the other tabloids do, whether it's the Sun or not, is that they try to pay people off and then make you sign one of those NDAs that will make sure that you're muted forever and never could be able to tell your story. And so they have been employing that. They have been doing that with other situations. I've heard of situation where this one of these presenters, who is one of those really vicious, hateful Harry and Meghan haters, that he had someone accuse him of sexual harassment. And the person who stood up for him was Dan Wootton. Actually, it was reported in Private, I think it was Private Eye, or one of those sort of newsletters. I think it was Private Eye or the Pop one, revealed that, one of them, who very much a supporter of Dan Wootton, he was facing his own sexual harassment thing, and Dan Wootton is the one that stood in his corner and vouched for him. I think he is still on that news outlet right now because Dan rooted for him. And so, but this is the guy at the top. This is the head of GB News, and he has his own thing. And I think the thing again with it is nobody has out in public come out and spoken out, but Byline Time said that they have spoken to 10 different employees from GB News, whether they're still at GB News or they may have just left GB News, but they have spoken to 10 people who blow the whistle on what's going on at GB News. And so for me, when seeing just the toxicity there, again, when the head of your company has been accused of sexual harassment and all of that stuff, then we don't expect them to fire Dan Wootton, because you're fired. I've said this before. Before I even knew anything about this, I'd never heard of this guy before. I had no idea who he was or what any of this stuff is. But the first time I heard about all this stuff, I'm like, GB News is not going to fire him. Why? Because they are one and the same. They are one in the same. If Dan goes down, they go down. It's just what it is. Because again, they are doing the same thing. So I would assume that's why Dan probably felt like, even years before when he started doing this stuff, and really propositioning guys and all of that stuff, is like, you know what? He knew that a lot of people in that industry were doing the same thing. And so that's why he felt so safe to be able to do that. Because if you're really worried about your job security, those are not things you would do. And you certainly wouldn't use your name, And so he was not concerned at all about that stuff. And I think it seemed to me that this is something that's just, everyday occurrence in those news outlets. So it's very, very sick. I would be interesting to see what they're going to focus on episode 10 of this. But it's just like, slowly but surely, all of the layers of these people are being stripped away, and people are knowing more and more and more about just the underbelly of the British press and why it just wouldn't change. They're not going to change, because a lot of them are involved in stuff like this, and they don't want to get caught out. They don't want people to know that, and so they're just going to continue the protection racket. They're just going to continue. And the rest of us are going to be like, why aren't you opening an investigation, Met Police? Why aren't you doing something, the Sun or the Daily Mail or whomever, or GB News? Why aren't you, holding Dan Wootton accountable? And it's like, Dan Wootton knows that they won't. Again, I believe that more of them are involved in this. So, and some of them may be terrified that it's going to all be revealed. But anyway, away from that, enough of Dan Wootton. It's like, makes me tired. It's just so much. But away from that mess, coming back to the US, and not that this is happy news, but it's important news. And we haven't spoken about World Central Kitchen in a while, but they're obviously in Maui. And we know that the last few days have been really horrendous for the people of Maui and people of Hawaii, really. But there's a whole community. Apparently, it was a historical community, and a historic community in Maui that is completely, it's like apocalyptic. It is completely destroyed. Fire took, like, it took aim at it and wiped out the entire city. And so it is just scary to see how that happened. I'm like, what on earth? And they said it's a combination of high wind and all of that stuff that causes it. But global warming, the environment, I mean, it's like the world is literally dying right before our eyes. And no matter how many people say we need to, we need to pay attention to this, we need to stop, we need to do everything we can, there are still people out there denying climate change. They're still out there. It's like, I don't know what evidence they want. Right now, literally, I think it's in Iceland. They're Hawaii is dealing with fire, but they're dealing in, I think it's Iceland, they're dealing with flooding. I saw a video earlier today of a house just being taken apart by a flood and literally dragged down the street, well, it turned into a river now. And so this sort of thing is happening all around the world, whether it's, some places you have fire and some places you got flood. And it's like, this is like biblical times, it's crazy. But wherever disaster is, World Central Kitchen is there. And this is a video they posted earlier today. At least one of the girls.
I'm on the Big Island and have been scouting out the fire areas over here. As you know, a combination of weather events have caused major fires to erupt both in Maui and here. Unfortunately, they got very quickly out of hand, and the firefighters have had to work round the clock to get things under control. Thankfully, on the Big Island, most of both the shelters have been closed and people are back, but there are still hot spots and fire spots that are coming up constantly. So the firefighters are still continuing to work around the clock. We've been working very hard to ensure that both displaced people as well as the first responders are all getting fed. There are 4 main fire stations over here, and we're working to feed them over the next couple of days as well. Just wanted to say thank you to the first responders. You've just done a fabulous job, and we're so honored and lucky to be able to feed them. Thank you so much for continuing to support us and them, and we will continue to feed them. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, so World Central Kitchen, again, they run to the struggle wherever things are happening, wherever you have this stuff, tragedies or whatever, they are there, feeding people, make sure the first responders have food, people in the community have food. So they are in Hawaii and they're also in Maui, and it's, doing everything that they can to take it. So I'll put the link, or it's probably still there, the link to World Central Kitchen in our community page. If you think of supporting them in any way, definitely. They also might, because people are literally burnt out of their community. I'm sure that there are drives around maybe for food, and not food, just food, but for clothing and all of that stuff. So it's something to look into if you're interested in helping out the people of Hawaii or the Maui. So, and again, if you're a tourist, can we all just stay away from Hawaii for a minute? Stay away from Maui. Let the people who are the natives there be able to recover, be able to heal, be able to pick up the pieces of whatever is left of their lives. If I hope to God, I see no tourists there, because they don't need that right now. They need to be able to, figure out how they're going to live and how they're going to rebuild. And I feel like, tourists need to stay out, especially Maui needs to stay away right now and let these people be for a minute. They, definitely lost 55 people lost their lives because of it. So it's just a major tragedy, an absolute major tragedy. So again, if you're able and would like to give to World Central Kitchen, definitely go ahead and do so. But anyway, I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you to our awesome moderators, Church Nelly, Lydia, Karen M, Cookies and Cream, Black Queen. Thank you guys for keeping our space safe and fun. And so I know this video was not as fun as it was yesterday because we're dealing with heavy stuff. So anyways, but thank you so much to just to our awesome moderators, and also to our incredible 2 Cents crew who support the channel monthly. Thank you all so much, and those who support from the chat, as you can see, whether it's donation or super chat, super stickers, super thanks, all the supers. Thank you all so much for really supporting the channel in this way. So that's it. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you all next time. Bye.